We've finished the regular season. Now we're in week one of the playoffs. Dale, that's this season just keeps on progressing. I'll tell you what, there's going to be some decent matches this week across 1A through 4A. So I'm looking forward to it. Good weather, it looks like, also.
Yeah, that's good at least. Won't be bitter cold or anything. This old man has a hard time with that now. A harder time.
Well, when you have the cold plus when it's rainy outside, it's double misery to me. So
Yeah. Oh, there's no doubt. That wetness, even if it's just a humidity, a higher humidity, it just causes that cold to find its way in deeper to the joints.
right,
That's the best way to put it.
exactly.
uh, so what I was mentioning with you before we went live, there's Keri. So I'm glad you joined us, Keri.
Hey, Keri.
Hello.
I'm going to see what were the other points. So I'm going to bring up is something that Keri brought to my attention today. I'll go ahead and kick that one off. So Jim West Lincoln had a student that was a student athlete that passed last week, and I think the services were on Friday. Is that correct, Keri?
Right at 1:00.
So, I don't know if you noticed, but Jim, the picture that I used for the announcement of tonight's event was a picture that Keri took that had the two teams that came together, and they prayed together and showed.
Dale, I don't know if I can hear you.
Nope.
Yeah, I think you might have gotten out, Dale. I think the volume might be gone out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like in shock when I heard about the just now. I did not know about the passing of a student athlete. That's tough to deal with.
Yeah, he had just graduated. But his brother is on our football team.
Dale, we can hear you now.
You can now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to keep. Keri didn't want to say too much because she didn't want to get emotional about it, and
I understand.
I can appreciate that. So the picture was, I thought it was a good picture to use to show that we are still communities, and I'm certain that kids within both communities know each other to some degree, right?
Oh, so, big giant, yeah.
Exactly. So it's good to see people come together and support each other in times like this. It's a sad situation because it's a youth and a young person. Last night or yesterday, Jonathan Grice brought to our attention a Richmond County player who he played I think it was 8 or 9 games this season, but he has cancer, Jim. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's in hospital now for treatments, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but Judd just noticed some pain in his hip. And I guess like a lot of athletes, you just kind of push through things. even though maybe you don't feel like you should be experiencing any kind of pain right now because you're in shape, etc. Uh, the trainer sent him off and had him looked at, and I guess the first people that did diagnosis didn't find anything. They didn't find cancer. It took a
Yeah.
second.
She found a different doctor for him to go to. She really went over and beyond. She's pretty fantastic.
Was that Alicia?
No, Tracy Porter through Atrium.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mhm.
Is Alicia at West Lincoln?
No, Tracy Porter is who we have.
Okay. I wonder where Alicia Harvey's at. She's
I'm
up
not
in Lincoln County. I thought she
Tracy
was there.
probably
I thought she was there at West Lincoln. She wouldn't work for Atrium. She's a certified trainer herself. And when I made the comment about, or when we posted the cheerleader slash homecoming, I mean the homecoming queen slash football player,
Mhm.
Alicia actually replied on my post about it, and as if she knew her. So
Oh, yeah.
that's why I was asking.
It's
But
a small community out here. Most people know each other, are related.
right.
Because I didn't grow up around here, and everyone. It's
And
Right.
that's
it's a small
the good thing about small communities, or not being in like a Charlotte. And you would think that
Yeah.
maybe Charlotte's a bunch of small communities, and it is, but our communities are so transient. People come
Right.
in and out.
Oh, it's not here.
Yeah, exactly. So we
So
don't have that.
I grew up in a place like Lincolnton, and now I live more like a place like Charlotte. To be honest with you, Hillsborough is a little bit transient, a little bit hit, or a little bit, I guess, traditional or whatever. It's becoming more transient than traditional. It's more of a veteran community to Research Triangle Park now.
Yeah, as the Research Triangle grows, it's unfortunately going to get more and more transient there in your area, Jim.
You know what? The triads in the triangle is going to be kind of merged together before too long. To be honest with you, there's like Alamance County, like maybe Mebane. That's not really part of the triad or the triangle, but that's about it. It's
that Burlington area in between the two, and maybe the east of Burlington just a little bit,
right.
It's going to engulf. Triad's going to keep growing, and the Research Triangle is going to keep spreading. Yeah. So I just wanted to. That was the photo that I used for the announcement. I'm gonna bring up some of Keri's photos here in just a little bit, of just some other photos that she provided in general. Some are of him. Actually, I could bring them up now, Jim. There is an article that. Let me see if I still have that link to that article. I had it up, and then my PC needed a restart before an update, so I let it do that. So, Keri, I'm gonna go back to your message that you sent me with that link in it. Jim, while I'm hunting it down, if you got anything you want to say.
Tell you what we can do. We can kind of split up the thing. We can talk a little bit about 1A, then we'll do the next thing. We'll do 2A, and then do something else or whatever. Just kind of split it out. You know what? The playoffs.
Well, I did have a couple of other topics I wanted to talk about before we got into that.
Okay.
That was all right.
Okay. I was just doing some fill-in.
Do what?
I was just doing some fill-in work while you were scrolling.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. I got the article.
Okay.
I'm not going to read the article. I'll just show everybody where the article is at. So this is from the Lincoln Herald. Can y'all see this?
You can.
Okay, so the URL is quite long for you to try to see it and type it. But I do believe if you go to the Lincoln Herald and look for Remembering a Hero, the article was posted yesterday, and there's a little little write up about him, his discovering of the issue and the the diagnosis and et cetera. So as you can see, it's not a real long article, but if
I
anybody's
just,
in,
I was just thinking, didn't we have a Judd that worked with us at one time a year or two ago?
maybe about
Like,
2 years ago, I was
yeah.
thinking, yeah, it's not him though.
Okay. It just you don't hear many. At least I don't hear many Judds. So I was like, that's the
And
first thing I
I
thought.
think Judd is I don't know if that's his middle name or a nickname. I think it's a nickname.
It's a nickname, William Clay,
Yeah,
quotation Judd Harrelson.
exactly. Now, hey, I say nickname because they got it in quotation marks. My son has two middle names, so
Gotcha.
it's almost a Southern thing, but not. uh,
Billy Ray
if,
Jim Bob.
if you've not seen that, there's a group that does. It's a Southern thing.
Hmm.
You may see it on come up on Facebook, and they do different small video skits, and one of them they do is about Southern names. It's a pretty funny video.
I still
The
love it when with Valvano, first time he got to Raleigh, somebody picks up and says, "My name is Billy Ray Bob." He's like, "Okay, where's the other two guys?" And he's like, "I don't know what to say to him." So he's like, "Well, hi, I'm Jimmy, Tommy, Tony." That's one of the best lines ever.
Yeah. uh, where is broadcast? Here we go. So just because I'll show a few pictures that Keri sent of him. Let me switch back to my shared screen. Let's stop sharing that and let's share. Keri, I don't know if you noticed, but that's your photo in the background here.
I did.
I love I love showing your stuff.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you took all these pictures.
I didn't.
I assume this is him in the hospital or getting treatment. And there's a good look at the young man. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more about him, and maybe there's some inspiration that can come from his situation. Hopefully we can find some good for him that maybe helps others. I'm gonna see what I can find out. I don't want to talk too much about it either because it bothers. I don't know him, but it's still. I have children. I have grandchildren now. All my children are grown up, and I do this because I love youth, and I like to see youth enjoy themselves. Have fun and excel and meet goals and all that. And it's really tough when a young person is cut short, but it looks like he still had a full life, so that's good.
Right.
Okay, a little more less somber topic. I wanted to bring up, Jim. We've had discussion over the past. We've had discussion on this forever, quite honestly, not just this season, but it's officiating. And the NCHSAA released a report last week, and I know you saw it, And I'm going to bring that report up so everybody can see it. I think it's important that everybody take an opportunity to understand what our issues are and really what the concerns are, what's causing the loss of officials. And what the NCHSAA did was they polled officials. And I'm going to tell you that from my every game, and Jim, you may do the same, but I, without pause, every game, I talk to officials. I talk to them before the game. I talk to them at halftime. Um, when there are the last few weeks, I've been at games. There have been what are called observers. They're guys who were officials, and now what they do is they go to the games and observe the officiating crews and grade them. So the last few weeks, I've been fortunate, and I knew these officials because I've been doing this forever. And Keri, one of the things I used to do, and officials really, especially Whitehead's, got to know me, is as the coin toss. I would always go out and get a shot of the coin. So the first thing I would ask an official, a white hat, when I would get to a game is, which way are you going to be facing? Are you going to face the scoreboard, or is your back going to be to the scoreboard? So I would know where to go get, so I could get my picture before all the other photographers, got in there. I could get a good spot so that I could get that coin flip. And through that and through other things, when I was running the forums, I had a couple of officials that would actually answer questions. People could post questions, and I would sometimes post photos of something that occurred in the game. I just happened to catch something, and I would post photos and have these officials weigh in. And both of those officials today are officiating in the ACC. So let me bring up the article.
We need to have some of those graders in Lincoln County.
You do. I would think you do. I don't know who runs your association. Who run? What officiating association you're in? This is the article. I hope you guys can see it. And what it points out, I'm just going to do the key highlights. Poor sportsmanship is the number one reason officials will leave officiating ranks. 63% of those surveyed indicated that bad behavior by fans, coaches, and players make officiating no longer rewarding. Understand that. Fans, coaches, and players. As fans, so just to reinforce this, I was contacted by a head coach who told me about a situation where he had to escort officials off of the field because of fans. It's one thing for fans to boo a call or yell things like "you need glasses" or whatever you want to yell out that's civil. The problem is, and this is one of the reasons I don't sit in the stands. There's several reasons I will not ever sit in the stands again. They all relate to fans. They all 100% relate to fans and their abuse of officials, coaches, and players. So any fans out there watching, you can help control this. One, by ending the behavior if you are taking part in it. Two, by pointing out adults, especially adults that are talking trash to kids. Players are children. They're kids still. Yeah, they might be 17 years old, but they're still children, and you're an adult. There's the language that I hear fans direct towards players is just unreal. But the players on the field, so officials have told me this exact thing here. This 63% is not a surprising number
No.
because I hear it from every official I talk to. These are the three biggest issues. It's not pay. Pay is an issue, but pay is not the issue.
They don't do it. Most referees don't. They don't do it for money anyway. So it's like you said. It's not an issue. It's an issue, but it's not the issue.
Some of them are given back to the game. So, like
Yeah.
Jonathan Grice, you guys watch Talking Preps. You know who Jonathan Grice is. He's the OC at Cox Mill. I love him. He's a great guy, just an absolute great guy. And he got into officiating. And I actually 2 weeks ago, I'm on the sidelines, and the side judge during the game, he turned to me and he said, "I want you to tell Grice he's a slacker," or something like that. And then a little bit later, I talked with him, he gave me the story. He said that Grice used to whine in 7-on-7s. Now, he was probably exaggerating, but I can see, everybody whines about calls. And he told Grice, he said, "You just need to get into officiating." And Grice said that what he's doing is he's trying to give back to the game that's given to him. So he actually did go to the officiating school, and he's a certified official. He's doing it for the love and to give back to the game. But Jim, you hear it, I hear it, Keri hears it. She's on the sidelines taking pictures. I know she hears it.
Oh yeah.
The players abuse to officials, coaches abuse to officials. Now, Keri, I don't know how your coaching staff is, and it may not be that bad, and you may never go over to the other sideline to get kind of a broader sampling of how coaches are. Usually, I try to spend 50-50. 50% of the time on one sideline and 50% of the time on the
I go to the end zone. Rarely do I go to the other side, but I can hear the other side.
Well, I can really hear the other side because
most of the time, though, we've had some really bad ones.
Yeah, exactly.
But most of the time, our issue is it's because they're not consistent with both sides. If you're going to call it for one, call it for the other.
Well, so I'm going to make a comment about that, but let me see some of the other things. The 63% all surveyed believe that spectator behavior is worse than it has ever been.
Yes,
I agree. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Low pay is the second leading issue driving officials out of the job. They do not get paid a lot of money for what they're doing. People don't.
It's like $98 now. Just a regular referee, 96 or $98.
Yeah.
Well, just people in general don't know how to act.
So the problem is that people don't know what they're seeing. If we took these fans and we asked them to tell us the rules,
they don't know. They don't know.
They don't know the rules. A lot of coaches don't know the rules. A lot of coaches.
I listen to my coaches on the sidelines because most of the time I can't catch it. And I know it's a really bad one if I can pick up like a block in the back and things like that. And I'm like, that's really bad. Or if they're blatantly fighting in front of the ref and he'll call it on one team and he won't call it on the other. It is it's blatantly fighting.
So on calls, I do know, again, from talking to so many officials, I can't even begin to count the number of officials I've had long discussions. There's no inherent bias in officials towards one team or another.
Right.
There's a
One thing
potential bias with one official here and there
Yeah.
against a coach.
Yes,
Not
I've seen that.
But in general, there's no
Mhm.
bias that they're going to call things against the team because they don't like that team.
One thing I mentioned about it, though, a lot of
Not really.
schools, if you go look around the sidelines, there's a lot of people that are on the field that don't need to be on the fields, on the like standing around. A lot of people
Yes.
don't have one of these things here, and
Well, they
there's a
should
lot of
be there. Exactly. There needs to be better sideline control, but
right. That's where the athletic directors need to step it up. If you ask me on that, if there's somebody that's going into a game and they're causing, if I can hear them talk trash to the the officials that's on the grass, on the sidelines, there's a problem right there. Somebody's not doing their job, and I've seen it
so
way too much.
exactly. So actually, the rules are that you're not supposed to be cheering on the sideline outside the box. And you're not allowed to coach outside the box either, which means an athletic director standing down on the 5-yard line, that's that's okay. But him yelling out onto the field about telling a player what he should be doing, that's not okay.
No, you're exactly right. I agree with that.
So
Our AD is a coach, so he doesn't go down.
okay, but like here in Charlotte, ADs are not allowed to be coaches, and so
Yeah, ours is.
The thing is, there's got to be better security on that, because I've seen so many people rile up the crowds for no reason whatsoever, and they're on the sidelines. I'm not talking about the coaches that's in the box. I'm talking about people that are not affiliated directly. They're more of a booster or something like that for the school.
Exactly. So this is something that
out.
needs to be brought to the NCHSAA's attention.
Right.
Yeah. And typically at our games, the only people outside the box are photographers.
Right.
That's it. And there's typically 2 of us, maybe 3. Typically.
Now on the calls, Keri, in a ideal situation, there would be 7 officials on the field. That's what football calls for, 7 officials. But
we have 4.
5.
4.
You have 5. You have to have 5. So what we normally see in high school is 5 officials, except for when we get to the playoffs. And then we have 7 officials. So and what you have, Keri, you got your white hat, you got a back judge, you've got
that
the line judge, huh?
The 4 that rotate.
No, and you have two what are called wing
line
officials.
Judges. Yeah.
You have a line judge and then 2. In a 7-man crew, that's what they are, Jim. But in a 5-man crew, they're called wing officials. Because they have to swing a little bit more. Those guys have to cover more field than a 7-man crew does.
Right.
And this is one of the problems that we have, is that we only have 5 officials, so their eyes can't be everywhere. And the game is getting so fast and so athletic, and kids are getting so big and so strong. You need better eyes. You need more eyes to be able to see some of the stuff, because you're having to look at so many different things.
Something else I was going to point out about what's causing problems for the refs. You'll have kids that are affiliated with the school, maybe JVs, or kids that are injured. They're outside the box. and they're talking trash to the other team. I've
Yep.
seen that at 3 or 4 games. Last Friday, I was at over Durham County Stadium, and that bled over into the parking lots. And a Northern Durham student threatened to get a gun, and
Right.
all of a sudden, all these people. I was out there. I wasn't scared at all. I was like, just it wasn't a big deal to me because I knew he was bluffing. But the Chapel Hill coaches got their players, got them on the bus, got them out of there. But I mean, that stuff bleeds onto the fields. So simple, and it just takes some people that are willing to discipline these kids and tell them to get the hell out of there.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Some officials, or in some games, I should say, I'll see that get addressed by the officials.
Right.
But now we're telling, officials are having to pay attention to this activity on the sidelines and the game. And we're expecting them to call a good game, and they're having to do so many different tasks that they shouldn't have to be doing.
A lot of the fields where we're at, the crowd doesn't have access to get that close to the field. Like the way it's set up, there's a track or something. They can't get down like that.
But that's true at all places. And in fact, if you come into Charlotte, I guarantee you the access is set up to be more restricted than what it is up in Lincoln County at any of the places I've been to in the past. But people still get down there because they're allowed to be down there by the school. So the school lets in these other extra people. And you can go to some places, and Jim and I have watched enough football games over the years. We know that you can have a sideline just full of people.
There's nobody that monitors who goes onto the field. Nobody. There's just the gate. You just go in the gate.
And there should be.
Yeah. There's only one school that's ever questioned me going on the gate, and that's Maiden.
And really? So every place you go, typically in Mecklenburg County, somebody's going to look for a media credentials. Now, once they start recognizing, and a lot of people do, I guess I'm fortunate being on Talking Preps. A lot of these people like to watch high school, so they see me and they know me. But still, if somebody's with me, they'll have to have their credentials. They won't let them on the field if they don't have credentials. So
the only place that's ever asked me why I was going on the field or who I was is Maiden.
Right.
And they have an officer who stands at the gate.
And that's not good because that's letting anybody come out there and create these situations Jim brought up. And they're very real.
But that's our whole schedule. That's Bandy's. That's everywhere we go. Catawba County, Newton County. That's everywhere. I've never been asked.
Right. A lot of places is like that. The reason it's not that way in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, stadiums are built so that the visitor side and the home side are separate, and you can't get from one to the other. You have separate concession stands, you have separate facilities, you have separate parking. There's a separation for safety purposes that have been put in, and there are lots of gates to get through. I'm not saying that every location in Charlotte, those gates are manned and controlled like they should be or supposed to be, but it's a lot more restricted in Mecklenburg County, and I think in Wake County too, Jim.
Wake County, Durham County, they're pretty restricted. Orange County is getting more restricted.
Right,
Alamance County is very laissez-faire, to be honest with you.
So, as people are building new stadiums, they are kind of going with some of these same models of separation, but that doesn't, that's a kind of a little deviation from the officials. But getting those people down on the field is a distraction to officials. And I'm going to talk this Friday night. I'll talk to some officials about that. I've never really specifically asked that question of them. We have a problem of aging out officials right now.
Yeah, they're all older.
That's
There are
right.
very few young.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's several this year that are young, but
The young
there must be
officials,
newer this year that have just joined. But we have a lot that are really old. They're really,
yeah,
really
exactly. So the young officials are probably, I don't know if this is completely, 100% true, but a number of the young officials have aspirations of this being a career for them. So,
Mhm.
they want to officiate on Saturdays as well, and
Yeah.
not Pop Warner Saturdays, but and of course maybe even on a Sunday if they could get good enough. But the older officials, it's they're the ones that, in my opinion, it's really hurting us to lose because they help teach the younger, and they're leaving because of these reasons. Um, why hassle with some? You're 65 years old. I'm just throwing a number out there. They're all probably somewhere. Most of those older officials somewhere between 60 and 75. Um, why would you deal with the stuff that gets thrown at you? You're not making a lot of money, and thus we're losing them. And this is causing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know at our scrimmage at the beginning of the year, that Lincoln County scrimmage that we had, they had a bunch of new officials that were there, and they were training them at that scrimmage.
Right. Yeah, that's every summer. So in the summer they have the officiating schools, and then kind of like their first real initiations are to go to those scrimmages, and they usually go there with another official.
Yeah.
So they have an already certified official there with them as they're making the calls to teach them.
That was
Um,
the first time I saw that.
it's an interesting process. The problem is that those new officials, they're new, so they're new to calling games, and thus the quality of our officials are less with those guys. But we got to give them an opportunity to learn. And if we want to complain about officials, we really got to look at ourselves, because we, as a whole, have created this problem, not the officials.
If you want to improve officiating, or not officiating, but if you want to improve the conduct of the games, you know how everybody complains about the RPI right now. Make it that how you conduct your behavior on the field counts as 15% of the formula. See how much
Uh-huh.
behavior changes.
Yeah.
So I kind of make a comment about that, Jim, because it kind of dovetails in. Last week I went to Olympic Myers Park football game, and I did this mainly because I couldn't get over to Butler in time to see the Butler Independence game. And then I did a hot wing thing Friday night because Olympic, first time in their school history, went undefeated. But what happened in that game was right disturbing to me. And at the 104 mark in the fourth quarter, Olympic got the ball, took the ball back over. So now it's just run out the clock time. And the Myers Park had two 15-yard penalties penalties called on them. All I could see was commotion over on the other sideline. I don't know what happened other than a coach got ejected. Our coaches have got to do a better job. You lose, you lose. You can't display to a point that you get a flag thrown on you. And if you get 2 of those thrown on you, you're ejected. That happened. This dovetails into what we just talked about. There was obviously abuse probably taking place with officials. Any Myers Park people watching, you want to tell me about it? Great. I'm open. I don't hide from what I say. I know what I saw, and I know what happened. And I have been given some information. I would like to know more. I asked on Twitter if somebody could, tell me more. I'd like to know what happened. Why did that happen? There's no excuse for it happening. I would just like to know what happened. So, Jim, you mentioned the grading of conduct. And it is something that the NCHSAA recognizes people for not having, so many personal fouls, the ejections, etc. That is something the NCHSAA recognizes teams for. Maybe they should hit teams for that as part of a formula of seeding.
Yeah, you can't behave on your own field. So help me, just make them where they can't have night games. People behave better at day than they do nights, and historically, that's been something that's happened in the past. You had schools that as soon as school gets over 4:00, there's a football game. Everybody's out by 6:30. Some games, some teams had to play on Saturdays back in early 70s because of issues. I'm not against it. I mean, to me, attending a football game is not a right; it's a privilege.
Yeah, and if they do that, it penalizes them and affects their money.
Exactly. That's a good thought. What we did in Mecklenburg County here was we moved from. So actually, there's been 2 moves. Games used to be 8:00 when I played; they were 8 p.m. And then they went to 7:30. And then because of violence here in Charlotte, games were moved to 7:00, which really impacts attendance because in Charlotte it's hard to get to a game at 7:00. You can spend an hour in traffic in Charlotte easily, an hour or more in traffic.
All the schools around here pretty much have gone to 7, or actually, I should say all the non-conference games are always at 7. The conference games depends on the conference. Most are 7, but some are 7:30 still. I prefer 7:30.
Yeah, I have noticed some schools that used to do 7:30s are doing 7s, but there are still 7:30 games now. It seems like more people are moving to 7.
JV is 7. Varsity is 7:30 for us.
Okay, our JV is 6.
Yeah, our JVs are either 6 or 6:30. So, of course, I'll tell you what, it's so hard to go to a JV game. It's like, oh my gosh,
it's extremely difficult to make it to JV games in Charlotte. I tell you.
Well, I'm talking about just getting there. It's just like
that's what I mean.
All of them.
So
watching the game.
I don't know. There's got to be the NCHSAA can address some of this stuff, and they really do need to take a hard look at this. So this officiating report that they got, there are some things they can do. People respond to penalties. That's why we have penalties of law. If you break a law, there's a penalty involved, hopefully to be a deterrent. And if we can't let ourselves be deterrents in conduct and character in football, we tend to add more rules to be able to control those things. So we need maybe we need more.
Maybe it
Heck,
affects seating at the end.
you know how like restaurants have like they get graded, so you have to put the grade A, B, C, whatever in front of the window. Have the
Mm-hmm.
grades for your behavior. Everybody. Well, this school gets a D. This school gets an F because of bad behavior. Make them do it. I mean, that would be embarrass the heck out of some people, but sometimes you almost have to do that.
So, there's a comment. The refs at the Crest Kings Mountain game were terrible this past Friday night. I don't know, not being there. If they were terrible, then the coaches turned the film in. But understand, a lot of times that what we think is terrible really isn't. Um, Back a few weeks ago, I posted the video, Jim. You remember of the quarterback throw for Providence Day? And literally, if you blinked, if you did just the normal blinking that your eyes do to keep your eyes coated with tears to keep them from getting dry, you would have missed the point from it not being a throw to it being a throw.
Right.
That's how quick some of this stuff is when we talk bang bang. So I don't know. I can't, Joel. I can't argue with you. It was or wasn't. I didn't see it. I do know that I've heard such comments and have actually talked to the coaches, and the coaches didn't feel, the game was a badly called game. I'm just looking here at some of the other comments that we've got here. Quite a few.
I guess it was, it's been about 3 or 4 years ago. I won't mention the head coach or anything, but I was like within 3 yards of a late hit, and it was a close one, but it was definitely a late hit. The guy was already out of bounds, and the guy had launched after the guy went out of bounds. It was, to me, it was a late hit, and the head coach didn't see it. Just went off like a fool, And later on, after halftime, the coach came up to me and says, "Tell me about that. It didn't look like a late hit to me." I said, "Yes, sir, it was a late hit." And so help me, at halftime, that guy went up to the referee and apologized for that. There are some good ways to correct behavior, and if you realize you did something wrong to a referee, apologize. There's no shame in that whatsoever.
We'll move on from officials, but I do want to make a couple of comments because Jim, Coach Barry Shuford. I'm good.
Yeah, Barry.
Barry's I think Barry's a great guy, but Barry can get on officials. And I've talked to some of these long-term officials about Barry. And for the most part, none of them have an issue with it. As tough as he can be on officials. And that surprised me a bit. But I remember a game, I wanted to mention this, that sometimes coaches need to think about when they get on officials. So I was on the other side of the field from Barry. I was on the visitor side at this particular game. And I actually had a picture of the play. And when the play happened, and I had a great vantage point of it, I thought the officials really messed up. After the game, I asked Barry about it. He remembered the play exactly. I said, "Barry, why didn't you didn't really complain about it? You didn't go much on it." He said, "Sometimes you got to know when to pick your battle." So one more here. You should see how Kings Mountain fans had to boo the refs. Yeah, see, that's the problem. You can't always see, an official doesn't always have the best angle. And if they have any questions, usually they will talk with other officials to see, did you see that? Now, the problem is that may not be an area of the field another official was supposed to be looking at. And so they may not have seen it. That's the other thing people don't understand. Officials have responsibilities. Each official has a responsibility of what he or she is supposed to be watching. And then angles can put them into situations where they can't see a ball hit the ground before a player catches it. They can't see a player tugging on a jersey as the other player is going up to make a catch. And it's not just some incidental stuff. It's actually some kind of interference. It's hard sometimes for them to see everything. So my advocacy has been first, we got to get more officials back into the game. We don't have enough officials here in Charlotte. I know that. The association here has a shortage of officials. But if we can get enough officials back in, I would love to see us get to 7-man crew.
Now, there was another time, funny story for you, watching a game, and quarterback was throwing the ball, and it deflected on the defender's finger. You couldn't see it very well, but it did. It obviously changed trajectory. The defender, the cornerback, just mugged the receiver, and no flag was played because once it touches the defender, it's live game,
Right.
And some of the coaches, the players, the fans were just going all crazy. And the ref was doing this number here. He had his middle finger and kept on doing this number right here. And one of the coaches says, "How dare you give us the finger?" He thought he was getting flipped off, And I just I thought that was one of the funniest things I ever seen. Okay,
that's funny, but
I digress.
No, yeah, but it's not something officials cannot react, and good officials don't.
Yeah. Well, he was just saying it hit his finger, kept on doing this number right here, and they thought it was flipping him off.
The problem is sometimes officials do react.
Oh, yeah.
And it's usually the younger officials that do that because they don't have the experience. The older officials are normally the ones that don't react. I'm not going to say always, but I'm going to say normally are the ones that don't react. They just roll on, and whatever happens. But players are giving officials abuse on the field as well, and it's got to be addressed. Coaches have got to get control back of their teams. Players have got to learn, well, you know what? If we don't have officials, here's the bottom line. If enough officials leave, every one of you coaches are not going to have a team to coach because there's going to be no need for that team because there's going to be no officials to call games. And if you don't think it's real, then you don't understand the state of the situation of officials today. We are short officials. We have more leaving than we have coming in to replace those.
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, let's move on. I wanted to do two things, Jim. So we take a quick look at the insane ranking. Did you by chance fill out a bracket yet?
I have in my head, but we can go over the stuff and I can tell you what it is.
I filled out a bracket.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying my bracket is good because it's a one shot without me doing any research, just what I know about teams. So maybe we can bring that up when we talk about the brackets. And we don't have to talk about every game, but I did project mine all the way out to the championship. I plan on doing some research tomorrow to refine it because really it's just this team. What do I know about this team? Great. I don't know so much about this team. Some of the 1A, there's some new schools in 1A especially that I don't know a lot about. But anyway, let's look at the
All right.
insane rankings.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You're gonna. You have like ability to share your screen.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem. Let me go over to Carolina.
Keri's smiling. She's tickled about something here.
Oh, Keri, while we're doing this, I wanted you to. So you're going to talk about your game when we get to it in the brackets. But
Okay.
can you bring everybody up to date on Mason Avery?
Oh, he got an offer from Davidson, D1. Yay.
That's good. That's a good college. That's a good education right there.
I know, we're all excited for him. So excited. So, and I think he had been contacted by Western, I believe. So,
Who?
by the Western.
Yeah,
Western Carolina.
Right?
So,
Catamounts. Isn't that what I heard? Has contacted him.
Mm-hmm.
That's
There's
good.
a couple of schools, I think, he said that have reached out, but I'm not sure who it was. So hopefully,
All right, I'm gonna do the share now. So I did do
he's now nationally ranked in 3 areas.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yes, we're all very proud.
So I did do a push to get his
He's our
at
Mr.
least
Football.
Say again.
He's our Mr. Football.
You're Mr. Football. I got his name put forward to Charlotte, so I don't know what Charlotte's going to do with it, but at least they are now today aware of him.
Mm-hmm. I want him to go somewhere big and be very successful, but I wouldn't mind him being at Davidson, and we could go see him play.
Well, Davidson is a good education.
It is. It really is, and he's super smart.
And it's also a good. There are other things that are good for people, which is developing connections that can help you later in life. And Davidson is one of those kind of places.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, we can see you can see it, right?
Yeah, I can see it, or I could see it.
You could.
There
I
we go.
better put it back.
There you go.
But I was smiling earlier because my son is home from state.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. You just seem awfully happy. So with 1A, let's talk about this. We're going to put this in brackets. There's different tiers within 1A. Tarboro is in his own tier. I don't think anybody right now can touch Tarboro, and they're clearly the number 1. But for number 2, Andrews, Mount Airy, Eastern Randolph are clearly the next tier. Any one of those 3 schools could go in there. And Andrews, Mount Airy, and Eastern Randolph, they're all in the West. Northmore, Drawn, Thomasville, Murphy, I'm going to say that's in the next tier. And you can probably put Mitchell in there also. And then after that, Northampton County is just the best of the rest. I mean, it's Northampton County, North Orlando, Robbinsville, and Starmounts. You could maybe someone will throw in East Wilkes, but I'm not sold on them at this point. So,
okay.
Tarboro.
So let's look at the 1A brackets now.
Okay.
So, all right, we do it this way. So I'm not insanely mad at all about anything you've got here. I'm high on Tarboro just like you. I think Tarboro is by itself. You know, the traditional power, Andrews, and I kind of like Eastern Randolph, as you're going to see. But yeah, I like your I like this 10. I'm cool with it. Let's take a quick look at 1A bracket. Now, don't laugh at me for my picks. Understand that my picks were made without any research. And what I'm going to do is we'll start over here on the eastern side, Jim.
All right. Well, looking at, like I'm seeing right here, Tarboro, you're going all the way to the state championship. I have no problem with that. That's kind of how I look at it. North Duplin, southeastern Halifax. I think North Duplin's better. Riverside Martin's a lot better than Pamlico. North Edgecombe over Cape Pride. West Columbus is pretty darn good. They might surprise people. Gates County, Washington County.
So when you say surprise people, do you think surprise past the third round?
Possibly.
They're going to have to. Yeah, getting to the third round, they would have to get past Tarboro.
Third round they have to play West. They have to play Northampton County. I can see them. Yeah, now have Northampton. Yeah, Northampton County. I got them in the top 10. That game is going to be played at Northampton County as opposed to Sarah Gardo or whatever the place is called in Columbus County. That's going to be a game to kind of circle. That wouldn't be a bad game. Let's see here. Northside Pinetown over Weldon's not bad. Northampton County over Jones. I can't see the rest of that bracket.
Yeah, I must scroll it down.
Let's see here. Rosewoods. Rosewood.
Some of these, understand, I didn't research, so I'm just pulling this out of my head.
Yeah, all that stuff. Beargrass, East Columbus. That's believe it or not, is a toss-up. I'll give it to Beargrass, but it's not going to be surprising. Wilson Prep is a lot better right now. I'll take Wilson Prep beating going to the third round. So now we're on 2A, looks like.
Yeah, it my PDF scrolled.
Okay. Oh, well, it's got Northmore. I can see Northmore. Northmore is going to Northmore versus Rosewood. I guess you got Northmore beating Rosewood. I guess. Yeah, Northmore going against Tarboro in the regional. To me, that's how it's going to come out. To me, Northmore's got the bottom and Tarboro's got the top. So I agree with that. Now, West is a different story. That's the wild, wild West if there ever was one in 1A.
Yeah, so let me go up to the top here.
So Eastern Randolph, they have probably their Starmount and Robbinsville in that second round.
I didn't pick that. It didn't put that game in, did I?
Yeah, Mountain Heritage. Mountain Heritage should win that game. But
yeah, I would pick Mountain Heritage. I don't know why I didn't have that in there. Go ahead.
Robbinsville and Starmount, that's going to be a good game. Robbinsville is not your normal Robbinsville. They are banged up right now. They don't have a lot of depth. They're having to rely on a lot of young players. Starmount's playing really good. They really whipped East Wilkes last week, I believe. Starmount's, I think right now is better than Robbinsville, but that game is going to be played at Robbinsville, so it's a flip. It's a toss-up right now. Hayesville, Christ the King should be a good game. Hayesville beat Swain County this year, if I remember correctly. That should be a good one.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know, and of course that's just carrying this on out there to the third and fourth round, is if Christ the King can go that far. But they seem to be good, but on paper.
Oh, Mount Airy will beat them by 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
Mount Airy I think Mount Airy and Eastern Randolph and Andrews are all kind of hooked there together.
Yeah, I need to do some research, but let me roll on down here. Okay.
Now, Thomasville, Swain, that's a battle of some really traditional powers. Thomasville is better than Swain this year. Drawn and Mitchell, that's going to be a rematch. Drawn won the first one by about 4 touchdowns. Drawn's going to probably win that game. Shaky. Drawn just has athletes all over the place. The thing about Drawn is there's four high schools in Burke County. Drawn's a small one, and a lot of the really good football players at Freedom and at East Burke and maybe one or two at Patton are moved to Drawn, and they got some D1 athletes on that squad. You got Thomasville over Drawn. Looks like
Yeah.
that could be a good game. Thomasville's defense might give Drawn fits. It's going to be a good matchup. Murphy over East Wilkes. I agree with that. Andrews all over Mount Island Charter. Andrews versus Thomasville. I want to tell you right now. I know Thomasville has a name, but I would have to go with Andrews on that one.
And I did.
Did you? It's
the one thing I had a hard time doing was picking between Andrews and Eastern Randolph, but I went with Eastern Randolph.
Eastern Randolph has the size. They have a lot of size, but they don't have a lot of depth. They play 25, 26 players. I mean, there's only about 25, 26 players on the roster, and just about everybody plays. The thing with Andrews is they have a rushing attack that will not stop. If Eastern Randolph can keep Andrews off the fields, their offense off the field, they have a fighting chance on that. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good one. To me, it's going to be a game of attrition. And if I think what happens, Andrews might be in a hard time. But think about that travel going all the way from Andrews, which is in Cherokee County, which is as far west as you can go to the States, all the way to Ramseur. That's got to be a 5.5, 6 hour drive right there. That's a long drive. That right there is something to think about. Those players are going to be tired, exhausted. It's going to be a heck of a game. If those two play, I'll probably will drive down to Ramseur and watch that game.
Yeah, and I was thinking, Mountain School coming down to play here in the Piedmont, but we'll see. That's a long time from now. That's several weeks away.
The thing with Eastern Randolph, though, that they're going to have to get by. There's some big heavy hitters in the top of that bracket. Mount Airy, Eastern Randolph is going to be a slobber knocker.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it'll be tough up here. All right, let's flip over and look at the 2A Insane.
All right. So this one right here is a little bit different than 1A. I think teams 1 through 5 are fairly even, to be honest with you. I just don't think there's much difference. 6 through 10, and then throw in probably Shelby. You can throw Northeastern in there. Forest Hills you can throw in there. There's about that second tiers. You got about 8 or 9 teams, but 2A is a lot of parity in this. After you get past the second round, it's just, and even in the second round, it's going to be hard to it's going to be surviving in advance. It's just going to be like the NCAA tournament where you get one team that's playing really hot. You better watch out. You might lose. Go home.
Right. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of I think this is a tough classification.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of competition here. So let's see. Are there any comments so far on any of this? No. So let's see what the 2A bracket looks like. I assume that. Where is my PDF? Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong place, Dale. Here we go. Okay. We'll scoot over onto the eastern side.
I think you're in 1A still. There you go. keep on going down. You're still in 1A. There you go. So Princeton got a number 1 seed. That's important because Princeton, to me, I think I have them. I think Princeton might be there with Shelby, to be honest with you. Princeton is a team that overachieves. Shelby's team that can beat the teams that are supposed to be, and the teams that are a challenge, they haven't really done much this year. But Princeton's really good. Princeton, they'll beat Goldsboro, they'd beat Eastern Wayne, and to me, they'd beat East Carteret. Although I'll tell you right now, I think Cummings, East Carteret's, I have to go with Cummings in that game. But
would you?
Yeah, I would definitely take Princeton over Cummings. So Princeton's got a really good draw, if you ask me. They've
got a just from looking at the bracket, it looked. I'm not going to say soft because even Nash Central was kind of a hard pick when I picked Princeton here. And I'm not saying this is going to be the bracket on Friday. But this was just literally going through which one do I pick this one? Which one do I pick this one? All right.
Well, the next 4 or next 2 games, Northeastern, Wallace Rose Hill, Green Central, Nash Central. I have those teams also going the second round. If Green Central and Nash Central play, it would be over in basically Rocky Mount. And another game that same day is going to be Northern Nash and Southern Nash over at Northern Nash, which is also basically in Rocky Mount, between Nashville and Rocky Mount. If those 2 games happen, I'm actually going to spend the night over in Rocky Mounts and take turns watching between those 2 games. I probably will start with Northern Southern. If it becomes a blowout, I probably will go over to Nash Central, Green Central. Those are some 4 really good teams. But in this part here, Northeastern, Wallace Rose Hill, that's going to be a good one right there. Northeastern, luckily that game will be Elizabeth City for them. But I'll tell you right now, Wallace Rose Hill plays really good on the road.
Yeah, I don't believe this is going to be a blowout game. I think if that game occurs, which it should, that's going to be a good ball game.
And being the game is at Northeastern, that gives them an edge. That game right there to me is a toss-up. I mean, that's a really good game. Nash Central, Green Central, another one. Whiteville got them past Southwest Onslow. I agree with that. Now, Southwest Edgecombe and John Holmes, that's going to be an interesting one right there. John Holmes, I would take them over Southwest Edgecombe. That game will be over at Edenton. Edenton Holmes versus Whiteville would be a good game. Southwest Edgecombe over against Whiteville would be a good game. That's, who goes in the third round between those 3 teams? Anybody's guess. You got West Craven over Bunn. I agree with that. Hereford County over East Bladen. I agree with that. I would take Hereford County over West Craven. Although West Craven they have played some pretty good teams this year. They beat who was it that beat? It was kind of it was like finally they got beat. It may have been Green Central, come think of it, but. Clinton over Bedingfield, I agree with that. South Granville over Roanoke Rapids, I agree with that. I saw South Granville play. They're a 5-5 team, but the teams they've lost to were like Heritage and Raleigh. They lost to Hillside. They played some really good teams. They're 5-5. They won. They finished ahead in the 2A in their conference. They lost to Southern Durham, which is 3A, good 3A team. Clinton South Granville would be a good game. I'd like to see that one. James Keenan clearly over Camden County. Here's another one. James Keenan and East Duplin. That's a battle of Duplin County right there. East Duplin won the first rounds. They would be favored in the playoffs. So that's going to be great. Now you're going further down. East Duplin, Whiteville. East Duplin just looks really good right now. They have a good chance of going far on that. Who do you have in the you got East Duplin going into the state championship playing Burroughs.
Out of the West? Say again now?
Yeah, you got East Duplin going merging out of the East. I think that's just as good as any team out of the East. Now West is a different story. West is loaded.
West is really hard pick. Really hard. Come on now, let me get over there. Scroll bar does not work.
Looks like it's frozen. There you go.
Yeah. Might have to open it back up. There we go. Let me see if that fixed it. All right.
Alrighty.
Can y'all see that?
Not the easiest thing. Tell you what, Ed. There you go.
How's that?
Maybe just take a little bit bigger, just a teeny bit bigger, maybe
It's
110.
It's too small. I can't see it.
Oh, okay. Now I can see it.
Okay.
So Reedsville clearly. Now here's one I want to talk to you about. Madison, they went I think 3-7. They beat a Rosman team that's horrible. Rosman didn't win a game the whole season, 118. They beat Owen, who won exactly one game, and that was against Rosman. And then they beat some other school that may have won one or two games. But they got an automatic bid to the playoffs because they were the top team in a 1A, 2A conference. They got blown out by 4 1A teams, and they get a bid. Anyway, enough about my soapbox. Reedsville beating Providence Grove. I agree with that. Chase, Chase and Robinson, that second round. Wow, that's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
I would go with Chase on that, but wow, that's going to be a good one. You got Reedsville beating Chase. I don't disagree with that. Reedsville is a solid team. Maiden over Polk County, I agree with that. Walkerton over Mount Pleasant. That's game's a toss up to me. Maiden easily to the third round. Let's see, Bunker Hill, East Davison. Yeah, Bunker Hill. Community School, Davison easily. Burns easily. Forest Hills, Shelby. I will take Shelby in that game. And I'm going to tell you right now, it has nothing to do with this year. It just has to do with history. And Shelby, every time I pick against Shelby in the playoffs, I am wrong.
So Shelby let me down. And I just can't. Shelby let me down. And man, that game against Monroe for Forest Hills really says a lot about Forest Hills to me. So that's why I picked Forest Hills.
Now that game, Randleman versus Lincolnton, that has a potential of being a really good game. To me, it's a flip. I'd probably take Randleman, but Monroe, yeah, easily. East Surrey and Monroe in the third round. Sorry, Keri, I got to go with East Surrey in the second round over West Lincoln because East Surrey to me might be the best team in the 2As. East Surrey versus Monroe, that's going to be a heck of a game right there. And that game would be would it be at East Surrey or be at Monroe?
Monroe.
I think it'd be at East. I think East Surrey is
East Surrey. No, it'd be the East Surrey.
So that'd be at Pilot Mountain. You know what? I'd probably go with East Surrey in that game. That's a tough one right there. Burns over Monroe, I agree with that. Burns over East Surrey. That game would be at Burns. It's right now either one of those teams. I mean, I have no problems with any of those picks. Now, looking up a little bit, Burns going to the beating Forest Hills. Agree with that. Salisbury over Pine Lake Preps. Tell you what, Salisbury and Burns. I mean, those two teams. There's a lot of athletes on those two squads there. That would be a fun game to watch. I'd take Burns on that. I mean, Burns might have the best team in the 2A at this point.
Keri, what about your game this Friday night?
I think it's going to be close because what I've been told is that Hendersonville likes to pass the ball a lot, and we typically don't. They're running team. But in the past, like our Bunker Hill game, I think. No, I'm not a coach. I think we lost the game because we couldn't cover the pass. But in the Lincoln game, we did so much better at that. I mean, like a million times better. So I think we're heading in the right direction. And Jordan's arm has gotten so much better. He's been able to complete a pass to like Nate Rye. And Gideon Allen has transitioned into a receiver position. And making some heck of a play. Several couple times during the game. So I think we're in the right direction, but we got to figure out how to pass the ball more. I think we're
West Lincoln. I'll say this about West Lincoln though.
And until we can figure out how to pass the ball more.
Well, there's one thing to remember about passing. There's only 3 things that can happen,
and 2 of them are
bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but I mean, we've proven we can run it, and we run it well. So
I like to have a balanced offense myself, 60-40, 70-30, something like that.
90
with mostly, with the higher percentage that are being run. But heavy run teams do several things. One, they shorten the time in the game. So that is usually an advantage that lowers scores and limits the other, that passing team's ability to score. Passing teams might be able to score quickly, but then again, they can also throw incompletes, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing about defending the pass. One thing that you've probably heard Jim say a lot, and I've said it a lot, and I believe it, and I know Jim believes it, and that's not just that. Well, football is not linear from team to team,
right?
Because you match up differently. Matchups on the field change. Even though you go against 2 teams that can pass, and that's what they do is pass. And you do well against one and not against the other. And the one that you did well against doesn't mean you necessarily can cover the ball, cover the pass well. Mm-hmm. It means there are other matchups that eliminated the pass as being a big part of the game, such as maybe their offensive line is not as good. Thus, your defensive line gets more pressure on the quarterback, and the quarterback makes worse throws, or so many things that we can't correlate from one game to another. But that's good. That's good insight.
In the Bunker Hill game, I felt like our defense was a lot like, and this sounds terrible, but like UNC defense, which is terrible. It's real soft, and they were killing us with it, and that's why we lost.
Now, Keri, I've been watching Carolina. I've been watching Carolina play all season. I've yet to see their defense. What kind of defense? Where's this defense you're talking about in Carolina?
That's why we lost.
Now, the one thing I'll say though about West
As
Lincoln,
you can tell, we in this house watch Carolina too.
There you go. Yeah, our defense. There's no D in Carolina. I can promise you that. Now,
but we are drastically better in the last game than we were then.
Oh yeah. One thing about West Lincoln though that I like about this Hendersonville game, they're more physical than Hendersonville. A team that's physical and can pass the game would be a threat against West Lincoln. I don't think Henderson is as physical as West Lincoln. I think that's the reason why I'll take West Lincoln to win that game. Although Hendersonville, I believe, is that game will be at Hendersonville, will it not?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So,
And Jordan's arm is getting better and better and better, and he's been able to complete more and more passes. So hopefully you'll get the chance to show that.
All right. And before we move on to 3A, I just was going to make one comment. It's really just continues to be odd at times to see Anson. Look at their Anson at 31. I'm just
right.
not.
They used to be 4A at one time.
They used to be 4A at one time. That's right. So
Didn't
really,
Ashford used to be 4A?
Right,
Yeah.
they were 4A. Hunter House
Ashford's
was
been
4A
4A.
also at one time.
I know we played them one time at their place, and I saw it on their stadium that they have it.
Yeah, Ashbrook was a good 4A program back in
70s, 60s. Yeah.
uh,
Even the 60s and 70s are pretty
yeah,
good.
exactly. They
Well-
used to be a real strong program.
Well, 3 years ago we beat South Point in the second round of the playoffs
Yeah, South Point,
in
that's a
2A.
good team. Yeah.
South
Yeah.
Point's a traditionally good team. Yes.
But someone
All
said
right.
they're better as a 3A team than they are a 2A team.
They struggled in 2A the 4 years they were there.
And of course, you got to also consider the reasons why they were in 2A and how much that applies to
Yeah.
what
Stuart
they had,
Kramer.
a loss of students. Okay, so now let's look at.
That sent us to Shelby, so we got rewarded with that by going to Shelby. So
So 3A is a little bit different than 2A. It's probably a little bit more like 1A. Kings Mountain is the team to beat in 3A. The second, I'm going to say 2 through 8, or 2 through 7, really, is the next tier.
if East Lincoln plays Kings Mountain, I'm going to go to that game.
That would be a very good game to go to. Like East Lincoln, Dudley, Eastern Alamance, all those teams are legitimate. None of those teams would surprise me to win. 71st may be the second best team in the state, to be honest with you, in 3A. I'm not sure how. I really want to see more about Northern Nash in the second round. That's one reason why I want to go to that game. But and then the third tier would be pretty much everybody else. There's 3 teams, and I still have Ledford in there, like an honorable mentions. Crest, I won't discount Crest, although I tried to. Terry Sanford, they're really coming on as the season progresses. I was a big fan of Terry Sanford in the beginning of the season, so Havelock, any of those teams can make a surprise. And I do expect somebody to surprise Kings Mountain, to be honest with you. I don't see Kings Mountain win the state championship. I just feel like something is going to happen. I don't know who it is, but it just seems like every time I think Kings Mountain's going to win the state championship,
I know.
the wheels fall off.
I feel like that happens with Maiden too.
It happens a lot with Maiden.
They get so close, and then at the last minute.
Go over on the eastern side.
So the very first game, that Northern Nash, Northside Jacksonville, that's easily Northern Nash.
Southern Nash. I didn't fill out the winner of that one.
Southern Nash will win that game.
Yeah,
and that game is the one I want to go to next week. I'd have 2 good games over basically between Nashville and Rocky Mount to go to, and I probably would find a room somewhere to stay over in Rocky Mount. Northern Nash, Southern Nash, that's going to be a heck of a battle. West Carteret, and I think you have West Carteret and Vance County going to the second round. They're playing the first round, so I think he wanted to have Southern Durham.
No, without question, I did.
Yeah, and I might go to that Southern Durham Richlands game. I haven't been to a Southern Durham game the whole season. I like to see how good Southern Durham is. I would take Southern Durham, believe it or not, going into the third round over West Carteret, and then Northern Nash beating them. Going down, CBA Cock Triton. CBA Cock has lost one game. They'll beat Triton. Smithfield Selma versus who's that? Hunts. Oh, Smithfield Selma win that game. ACOC Smithfield Selma play in the same conference. ACOC won the first battle. That game's going to be a toss-up. I'll probably go with ACOC. Rocky Mount Jacksonville, that's a traditional rivalry right there. Two pretty good powers playing the first round. I think Rocky Mount win that game. Havelock will easily beat Crowleyton. I'd take Havelock over Rocky Mount. 71st over South Johnson, without a doubt. Rose over Cape Fear. I'm going to tell you right now, Cape Fear might win that game. Rose is not. You got to play defense. I don't care how good your offense is. You got to play defense. Let's see. North Brunswick, Westover take North Brunswick. Currituck over Lee County. I'd go with Lee County. They have some hosses in there. I just don't know how good Currituck is. Terry Sanford over South Brunswick, yeah, no doubt. Scotland over Fike, yeah. Williams, Western Alamance. Williams is the real deal. They are really good. Eastern Alamance over Franklinton. Williams, Eastern Alamance. First, I saw them play in the regular season, went into overtime over at Eastern Alamance. Those two teams are pretty well even. Eastern Alamance has got a better coach, and I'll go with Eastern Alamance. Terry Sanford over Scotland. Terry Sanford, that team could pull an upset over Eastern Alamance. That's a game I might go to. Northern Nash, Eastern Alamance, that'd be a heck of a game to go to. I think you have Northern Nash in. Here you got Northern Nash or Eastern Alamance going to the state championship. You got
Eastern Alamance going to the state championship.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I mean, it's Eastern Alamance has got a really good team. They got depth, they got coaching, they got all the instruments to go far. This might be their year.
Yeah, it's tough. I think Northern Nash has got a good, but I haven't, like I say, I didn't do any research to see if there's any reason I would pick. This was kind of just a heart pick here.
3A is, of all the teams in the East, all the different classifications in the East, 3A is the most competitive in the East. There's some really good teams there. Now West is just loaded also. Let's see what you got here. All right, Kingsmount over St. Stephen's. I agree with that. Central Davidson easily over Smoky. West Charlotte over Kramer. I agree with that. Ty Brighton over Southern Guilford. Yep. Ashbrook, Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This one's a hard pick, but yeah, I'm leaning to Ashbrook. Last night I was Northwest Cabarrus.
I've seen tapes
in my Charlotte Observer picks. I picked Northwest Cabarrus, but I'm leaning more and more to Ashbrook as I think about this.
I've seen videos of Northwest Cabarrus play. This is the best way after looking at that. I agree with Ashbrook beating Northwest Cabarrus. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Ledford over Freedom, definitely. That's no ifs, ands, or buts. Tuscola, Forest View, could be a good game, but I take Tuscola. East Lincoln easily. Oak Grove, I'm sure you got Oak Grove beating West Mecklenburg.
I'm still thinking about it, honestly.
Okay.
The reason being is West Mecklenburg has played. Now they play in the brutalest conference in the state of any classification.
Right. They're battle tested.
They're battle tested. I'm leaning to Oak Grove, but I honestly have not made my mind up yet. But regardless, I don't think either one's going to get past the second round.
So Crest over Statesville. What else we got down here?
that's a tough game right there, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Crest is. I think Statesville's down this year though.
Yeah, I'm not. I will not be surprised. That's a tough game to pick right there.
Yeah,
Let me scroll down.
Dudley over Pisgah easily. South Point Hickory. Yeah, agree with that.
It's shifted.
And let's see here. Irwin Carson. That's an ugly game right there. That's a really ugly game.
Yeah,
Irwin's not that good, to be honest with you.
I don't think they are, but I don't.
Parkwood Eastern Guilford. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a really good game. West Rowan, Franklin, West Rowan, West Henderson, North. Oh yeah, West Henderson every day of the week, twice on Sunday. West Henderson to me, I think if everything goes like you say, I think they have a pretty good chance to go to the fourth round. But I will tell you right now, Parkwood, Eastern Guilford, I'd probably go with Eastern Guilford in the first round, who would beat Irwin in the second round, who would play West Henderson and lose in the third round. South Point Dudley. I mean, that game's going to be in Greensboro, is it not? I guess it would be.
Dudley's higher seed.
Yeah, so that game would be in Greensboro. I don't know about that one. That's going to be that would be a slobber knocker right there. That's a good one. It's hard for me to go against Dudley, but I'll South Point. Whoever wins that Dudley South Point game, to me, they're going to the regional championship.
Yep, I think so.
And
I think it. So obviously I have it. South Point and Kings Mountain going to the regional championship.
Now let's go back up to the top of that bracket, to the Kings Mountain part, because there was one game that I wanted to point out. Look at that third round game between Kings Mountain and West Charlotte. That one right there, if I was Kings Mountain, I would lose sleep over.
Yeah, I don't know. They met last year in the playoffs. It didn't go well for West Charlotte.
That Kings Mountain is
much better this year. I don't know if West Charlotte is as good as they were.
Gotcha.
We'll see. I'll make a better notation on that after I see how they play. If they can get by Highbright.
Right. Well, I think they'll get past Highbright. I'm not too sold on Highbright at this point, but Kings Mountain, East Lincoln, that's a heck of a game right there.
Yeah, I think there's some tremendous matchups in the 3A bracket.
Right.
That'll be a tremendous game. I don't know. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. The thing is that week might be the private state championship.
Right.
And I may go to it. I don't know yet.
I'll tell you right now with 3A, though, Kings Mountain is clearly the best team. The best team doesn't always win, so I'd like to see Kings Mountain finally get that monkey off their back and win.
Well, I would like to see them get it off the back too, but they got to go through a pretty tough road to get there.
I mean, after the second round, it's going to be tough for them.
I mean, even this regional game. So if this bracket worked out kind of sort of to where at least these were the regional finals, that's going to be a tough game. Kings Mountain and South Point go at it again. That will be a tough game. Kings Mountain won the first round the first time they played, but there were things South Point could have done that they did do late in the game that maybe they will implement early in the game and maybe change their fortunes a little bit.
Right.
All right, let's see. Before I move on, let's see what we got on some comments. We got a bunch of comments. Oh my goodness.
I definitely want to go to that Kings Mountain East Lincoln game.
Well, Gary Ashley's right. Lots of good teams in 2A.
Yeah.
That's if West Lincoln is not still playing, because if they are, of course, I would go to
So
that.
this is an interesting comment here about Shelby having 4 to 5 players out with the flu. And it's not just my point of making this an interesting comment. This is not just a situation that Shelby faced or is facing.
Mm-mm.
We have a big spread of the flu taking place in the school system.
Mm.
And both my granddaughters have it. I was at Olympics football practice yesterday. I talked to some of the players there about, were kids getting sick in the school there? And the answer was yes. So now the next question is, does it impact their football team? Here in Charlotte, the flu is spreading
It is.
and maybe a little worse than normal.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Flu A, I think.
say again. Yeah, flu A. Yeah, A. And I got an A vaccination. Good. But yeah, so this could impact a lot of programs this week and next week. And, as we go through the playoffs, if we've got a big spread of the flu going around, this might end up impacting a lot of people. So, that could hit Kings Mountain.
Our school has been plagued by the ACL bug. We've had a lot of ACL injuries.
Oh, boy.
I think four ACLs.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if there's any other comments here that's
Yeah, I agree with that comment.
Dudley's a threat. So was South Point. So was East Lincoln. There's lots of threats to Kings Mountain, no doubt. 3A is not.
I think East Lincoln is probably the biggest one in that fourth round.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be a test after a test after a test after a test. So to get to the championship, they're going to have to go through a bunch of good teams. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Yeah, I'm aware of the drop by Asheville.
How long's varsity been around? About 25 years now. Late 90s, I think. Yeah.
Jeff, if he's still on, can tell us. He went to school there.
Still waiting on a response from a DM I sent you asking when you knew NL withdrew for you to reach out and ask NLAD for a statement why they withdrew. I don't know. I don't have a Rosetta Stone. Do you?
No, that's I think Alan had.
Oh, okay.
Maybe contacted them or something. So I didn't reach out, and I'm not going to reach out. That's up to parents to do that, in my opinion.
Yes.
It's not typically, the only comment I'll make about that is I know lots of coaches, because I kind of know the way coaches think in general. And coaches don't normally want to not compete, even when they know they're outmatched. The only reason a coach would not want to compete would be if they knew it was a injury, or not an injury, but a
safety issue.
Yeah, safety issue. what typically happens is ADs or principals see what their conditions are and assume what the game is going to do to them, and they will tell the coach, we probably shouldn't play the game because it's a safety issue. And they're not as close to the team as the coach is. So the coach would know if it's going to be a safety issue. Now, who made the decision and why? And I have no idea. I'm not going to.
There's two parts of it. Obviously, once the decision, and then second, once the decision is made, how you tell people. And I think a lot of people are probably more upset about number two as opposed to the actual decision itself.
Well, maybe
it was
I don't know
mixed,
that they're upset with how they were told, but if they had been told differently, they wouldn't be upset or as upset. So,
and it's too late.
It's a
so I do believe how they were told is an issue.
Yeah. I think they found out through Twitter, I think.
Yeah.
So it's, people, what you could have here is that they don't have the players to play. And the fans and the families are saying, well, we have all these JV players that could come up and play.
But I think they have a ton of players, is what I've heard. There's a ton.
But see, a lot of those might be JV players.
Not what I don't think so.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
know.
They just rode the bench.
You said they did not break the bench?
They just rode the bench.
Yeah.
They never got a chance to play, and they forfeited the game. So there are a lot of kids who wanted to play, but they're not
the problem with that even is, so if the kids have not played a down of varsity football, and you put them, if you put 11 kids on
Kings Mountain team,
that would be a slaughter, not a score slaughter. That would be a physical slaughter.
Right.
The speed of the game, even with bad teams, is so much greater than it is, say, from JV. Might be their only experience of playing so far. So I don't know.
When you get hit by somebody that's 60 pounds heavier than you've ever been hit before, it's challenging. These Kings Mountain's big, so.
I'll make one more comment and I'll move on.
It's too late at this point.
So my son started both ways on JV. Now he ended up as team captain and a huge contributor on the football team, etc. But when he got pulled up from JV to varsity for the playoffs, and it was late in the game against Geringer of all teams, who was in the midst of one of their, 30 plus loss, episodes. They put David in at middle linebacker. And Geringer ran a play off guard in the B gap, and David couldn't get to the ball player. It was the first time he had ever played against varsity players. And he was, by the time he got to where the ball player was at, where the ball carrier was at, the ball carrier was 1.5 to 2 yards past him. Now, as a senior, that's not a concern. He's played 2 years of varsity, not a concern. But his getting caught up from JV, he didn't have the speed. He didn't understand the reflexes and the speed. He had the speed, he just didn't have the experience of that speed. That's my concern about the safety issue, and we can't answer it. So people reach out to you. Got to reach out to your AD and your principal. You want a statement. What you don't need is a statement. You need a face-to-face conversation and have it told to you and explain to you why it was done. Mm-hmm. And accept it. Don't fight. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not putting you back into playoffs. Address it in a civil manner.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to get to four A.
All right. East Forsyth, I got them number 1, New Bern 2, Grimsley 3. I'm really big on East Forsyth. I think they're the best team. After that, New Bern, really all the way through Mallard Creek are like your next tier. I think New Bern's the best of the rest of those teams, and Grimsley's right there too. But you just never know about Huff, Chambers, and Mallard Creek. I just don't know where to put those 3 teams. They're just kind of
I don't disagree with you, because those 3 teams are pretty much equals to each other in some manner. First of all, they all have their own little things that makes them a little bit different and can be a problem or it can be a strength. The common thing that they all have is stellar defenses.
I'll tell you right now, though, if you look at the top 10 in 4A, and I'm not trying to pick on 4A at all, this is the weakest top 10 4A I've ever seen in my life.
And
this time of year.
If you look at historically at 4A, I do not disagree. Relative to each other this year, highly competitive, good football teams. Relative to past 4A seasons, this is not the same caliber.
You know, you take Mallard Creek this year, compared them to like Mallard Creek of 2012, where they came. That was last year. They came short. That 2012 team would beat this team by 28 points. I bet you.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Huge differences in all of everything that we see here as to what we've had in the past.
So I think 2A and 3A are just as good as ever, but 4A is just down this year. Is awful.
Yeah, I agree with that statement too. I think 2A and 3A are as good as ever. Maybe even 3A might even be better than.
Yeah, I think it is, because the 3A's it's diversified in the East and the West.
Exactly.
So
3A's always had good football, in my opinion, but I think it's pretty solid this year.
Right.
Very, very solid. So now let's look at the brackets. And again, these are so hard to do as a one-off, not giving any considerations, looking at
let's see, Hillside over Huck easily. Apex, Panther Creek, I'd go with Apex. That Panther Creek game is going to be good, though, but I'll take Apex. Holly Springs, Richmond, I'm going to go with Richmond. Richmond is 5-5 this year. If they lose, it would be the first losing season they've had since 1974.
So I thought about that as a motivator.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I will not change this pick. Just right off the bat, it was hard to make that pick.
Pinecrest, Fuquay, I'll take Pinecrest. Cardinal Gibbons easily over Knightdale. Millbrook over Clayton. Southern Alamance, Riverside, Durham. Great game. I'd go with Southern Alamance. New Hanover, Broughton, Hanover. Wake Forest, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest every day of the week. Who's Leesville playing? I see Dale Ross. Leesville, Ross, Conley. Yeah, Leesville Road. Cleveland easily over Topsail. Roseville over Hills. Yeah, Pinecrest over Laney. Jack Britt, Jordan. That could be a good game. I'd go with Jack Britt on that. Let's see here. Heritage and Hoggard. That's going to be a good game. I'd go with Hoggard. And whoever New Bern's playing, I can't see, but I'd take New Bern over
They play
whoever it is.
Sanderson.
Yeah, easily New Hanover. Or New Bern. So New Bern, second, third, fourth round, I see no problems with that. I see you got them all going all the way to the state championship. Pinecrest, I don't think is going to give much fit to. I think Pinecrest will be Jack Brett. I do agree with that. Rollsville, New Bern, Rollsville. Wake Forest, Rollsville on that third round. If those two teams play, and it's really hard to say because I think Cleveland will beat Rollsville. Cleveland's undefeated.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Cleveland would beat Rollsville. It'd be a close one. Wake Forest over Cleveland or Wake Forest over Rollsville. I don't know. I probably would take Wake Forest, but because I don't know, Wake Forest is just maybe a little bit better than both Cleveland and Roseville, but that would be a challenge, but not a huge challenge. But if you go up a little bit, Cardinal Gibbons, they're playing better and play better as the season progresses. I think we're in 3A. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Hillsides, you got them going into the fourth round. I don't see any really challenges until the fourth round for them. Cardinal Gibbons, Millbrook, that second round, that would be a fun game to go to.
That would be a very good game. Honestly, that's a little hard pick to make. Millbrook's a good squad.
They are. I think Millbrook is playing more consistent as the season progresses, and so has Cardinal Gibbons. Two pretty even matched teams, you ask me. Either one could win that game. Southern Alamance and New Hanover. I might go with Southern Alamance in that game. That's going to be a tough one, but I think either Cardinal Gibbons or Millbrook would beat Southern Alamance. Hillside and Cardinal Gibbons. I'm going to tell you right now, Hillside is a very physical, very athletic team. Play really good defense. I would probably go with Hillside in that game, and
I can accept that. A reason I picked Cardinal Gibbons is Hump. And Cardinal Gibbons, winning it all, being back, I don't know that it's going to stay this way, but that was my logic in picking it.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, you had Independence for 7 years in a row, then you go to Butler 3 out of 4 years, then you had Mallard Creek for 3 years, Wake Forest for 3 years.
Yep.
Vance or Julius Chambers, whatever, 2 years now. Cardinal Gibbons. That's a good point.
I just kind of figure, yeah, exactly. So, and then New Bern, because since week 2, I've just felt like New Bern is one of, if not the best team in the East. And today, I think they're the best team in the East. So that's why I picked New Bern to go to the state.
Okay.
All right, let's look at the eastern side, because this is, I don't know that I'm going to stay with what I did, because what I did was maybe a little shocking for some people.
Grimsley, yeah. Grimsley, Charlotte Catholic, that'd be a fun game to go to.
That would be a fun game. I do think Catholic would win that game, but I think that's going to be a tough game for them to win.
So who do you have between Independence and Olympic winning that game?
I picked Independence to go through, but honestly, I got to tell you, I don't want to be a homer. But Independence, Olympic looks very good too. I think Independence, what I like about Independence, and I have them going all the way.
Oh, wow.
But I put Independence Olympic here because I don't know quite yet about Olympic still. But I went ahead and marched Independence all the way through. So that Independence Olympic was because I had not made a decision and I didn't come back and update that. What I did is I picked I picked teams like on Monday. I picked part of my brackets, and then I left it alone and did work and other things. And then today, I went through and just finished filling it out, and I had not come to my mind yet on the winner of that game.
Gotcha.
And then I just went through and said, well, I think Independence is going to take it all.
Wow.
And the reason is I like Independence is they're balanced, offense and defense. So I think that the one thing of the Charlotte teams, the thing that the Chambers and Huff and Mallard Creek doesn't have, they're not balanced offensively to defensively. In other words, if you look back at all other state champions and all that other stuff, they had good defense. They might have had great defenses in, say, just very good offenses. Maybe not great, but very good. Say one tier down. This year, the difference in defenses and offenses is much greater. And I just tend to believe that teams that are more solid on both sides of the ball have greater opportunity. The skill level is near the same as Chambers and
Gotcha.
Mallard Creek. Now, Chambers, Mallard Creek, and Huff are probably more physical than Independent. The physicality is higher. So there's a lot of things to balance here. I don't know if I'm going to stick with Independence going all the way, but yeah, it sounded good.
Yeah, Independence has been under the radar the whole season. We haven't really talked about them much until when they beat Butler. Was it last week?
They beat Butler last week for the first time in, I don't know, 5-7 years. I haven't looked to see.
When was Evans the coach? Was it 2014 or 15 or something?
You know what? They may not have. So it was Evans and then Harden and then Natoli.
To me, Evans is one of the most underrated head coaches in the States in the last decade.
Oh, I love Joe.
Joe, I mean, what he did at Independence that 1 year he was there, didn't he have like 7 or 8 shutouts?
Went undefeated.
He went undefeated in the regular season.
Been undefeated in regular season. Lost in the first round, but still.
I mean,
he went undefeated in the Southwestern 4A, which is pretty darn good.
If you look at what he's done in his career, I can't believe more people are not talking about him. To me, he's.
Is everybody still there?
I am.
Okay.
My thing went out just a second, but I guess I'm back. Let's look a little bit more down here. Let's see. Huff, probably Mallard Creek and Ardrey-Kell. I'm going to tell you right now, Mallard Creek does not need another letdown. If they have a letdown against Ardrey-Kell will win that game. But I think it's going to be a matchup again in the second round between Huff and Mallard Creek.
The problem for Ardrey-Kell is the physicality of Mallard Creek. And Ardrey-Kell, I saw them play Weddington, who is Weddington is as hard a hitting team as Mallard Creek is. And they punched Ardrey-Kell in the mouth. And Ardrey-Kell kind of recoiled when that happened. So I just think it's a task for them to win that game. I'm not saying they can't, and I love the coaching staff over there. I love the kids. It's hard to pick against them because I do have some personal bias there, but I did. I picked against them. I think it's going to be a tough one for them. All right, Jim, we can't hear you.
He's gone.
We lost him. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'll just scroll on down while he's doing what he's doing.
I was like, I can't fill in for him.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. Especially in 4A.
I don't know that I picked any real shockers. I do pick Mount Tabor to beat Asheville. I did pick Watauga to beat South Iredell and then to go play Northwest Guilford and to win that game. But really, honestly, I'm starting a little question right there.
Which Guilford is it that's the really good one with that really good quarterback?
See, this
Sorry,
is
guys. I was just back.
I'm sorry, Jim.
My internet went out.
Okay. I'll let you pick up, Jim.
Let's see here.
I was down at Watauga, Northwest, Watauga, South Iredell, Northwest Guilford, Southeast Guilford.
Yeah, I'll take Watauga all the way to the third round. Beat Northwest Guilford. Weddington, Marvin Ridge. Yeah, Weddington. Coxmill over Lake Norman. No problem with that. AC Reynolds over Brown. I think A.L. Brown will have a losing
So
season.
before we move down out of this part of the bracket, I do have a tough time right now picking between Weddington and Coxmill. And I'm still thinking on this one. Coxmill's a really good team, and they're a dynamic offense.
Yeah,
they have a great run and pass offense. So I think it's going to come down to them is to how well their defense plays. Now, you were about to say about A.L. Brown and A.C. Reynolds, which I think I'm going to agree with what you say. Go ahead.
Yeah, A.L. Brown will not do well. They'll have to go to Fairview over in Buncombe County, and A.C. Reynolds will win that game probably by 3-4 scores. It's going to be ugly. Chambers all over Porter Ridge. Butler, Hickory Ridge. That could be an interesting game. I'll go with Butler on that.
That's a tough. I just want to say that's a tough game for me to pick. It really, really is. As is the game that follows afterwards.
Well, Southwest Guilford, they beat Dudley earlier on the season. I think they have a pretty good quarterback, if I remember correctly. They're the Cowboys. They're going to be all right. I might go with Southwest Guilford in that game
over Morrisville.
I probably would go over Morrisville. I don't know. No, I'm sorry. I'd go with Morrisville. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of I don't know what I was thinking. Thinking somebody else besides Morrisville. Yeah, Morrisville will win that game. Butler will beat Morrisville. I agree with that. Butler, Chambers.
Well, now let me say though, I'm still thinking about that game personally. I think that game's going to be close, and Morrisville got a good running back. Big thing about Butler is going to be is their sophomore. If their sophomore quarterback doesn't make mistakes, but I suspect that's going to be a good ball game.
I agree.
Then you were going to say something about the Chambers.
Yeah, Chambers Butler game. I mean, which team is going to show up for Butler? Which team's going to show up for Chambers?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Butler's due to go to a state championship game. They haven't been in 10 years. Chambers has got to be foaming at the mouth after what happened last year at the state championship game. That's going to be a tough one. Let's see, Weddington and Chambers. It's just hard to say on that. I mean, that bottom part of the bracket's just loaded with teams.
Yep.
Going up though, you see you have East Forsyth over Mount Tabor. That game could be really good.
I
Mooresville
agree.
Butler, second round. Yep.
Yep. I agree. Now Tabor's, they're another one of those traditionally tough teams.
Right. Huff, East Forsyth. I'd go with East Forsyth in that game. I
went with Huff.
But I could. I mean, a lot of people are talking about East Forsyth being the best team in the state, and on paper they are. Second round, they have a challenge.
I agree.
Third year.
I agree.
I mean, after the first round, they're going to have to play 5 incredibly good games. And even that first round against West Forsyth, I mean, that's a grudge match right there.
Yep. That's rival first round. There's some first round games that are you've got Weddington and Marvin Ridge playing in the first round. Two big rivals who just played last Friday night.
All right.
So they play 1 week to a 2-point game. Weddington won by 2, I think it was 2 or 3 points.
Right.
Now they got to turn around and play them again this week.
Yeah.
That's a tough draw for Weddington, I think.
That bottom part is just brutal. The top part is brutal too. I mean, Huff, Mallard Creek. I mean, all those teams are all in there. Right now though, I have trouble seeing Independence going to the state championship game, but I can see it happening. No team is really shooting. Not many teams are going into the playoffs saying, "Gosh, the team that beats Independence is usually, gosh, the teams that beats East Forsyth or Mallard Creek or Huff or even Weddington, Julius Chambers, Newburgh, Grimsley." I mean, you probably can name 10 teams before anybody says Independence.
Oh, there's no doubt. I would agree with that.
And same thing with Olympic. I mean, nobody's giving them much respect, and they're 10-0. I'm showing very little respect to them, and I have them just as honorable mentions. So,
yeah. So I had a discussion with the coaches yesterday about that. This very topic about. And I spent a lot of time over there yesterday, and I'm afraid they're going to hook me back. I'm going to get hooked back in over there. I say afraid. I'm trying to get around and see so many different, lots of other football, and I let them know that. That's why I'm not around Olympic like I used to be. But I told them, I said, I picked against you against Ardrey Kell, and he said, well, yeah. He said, you hadn't seen us, so you didn't know. I said, yeah, and competition that you've played was not good. Their winning percentages was less than 30%. So it's kind of hard to gauge how good you are. I said the only thing I can say is you beat the teams you were supposed to beat, like you should have beaten them. So I really don't know what that means, and what's it going to say when you play better teams. So they played Ardrey Kell, who's significantly better than anybody on their schedule, and they beat them. So I don't know. I mean, they're going to get a mountain team to come down to Charlotte, a team with tradition, but no, that should not be a game. I do expect they'll win their first round game, and then they're going to go to some very extreme competition. So how they play Independence will tell us a lot about them, and if they beat Independence, then all of a sudden I think they become a team you got to consider.
Right.
if they can beat an independent. But there's a lot of what ifs there.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fun. So, where are you going to be in the first round? Where are you going to go?
I have not decided. It's so difficult because one of the things really says, because Jim, I invested so much of my life into Olympic, and Olympic set a school record last week by the first undefeated season in school history. If they win this Friday night, it'll be the most wins in a season ever.
Right.
They've had multiple teams go 10-win seasons. They've never had an 11-win season. Almost, I mean, there's not a lot of good games. There's a few good games, and a fantastic, probably one of the best games on the ticket going to be Weddington and Marvin Ridge. That is going to be another. It was a one-score game last week, and it's probably going to be a one-score game this week.
Now, who's Charlotte Catholic playing?
Catholic up top here. Reagan.
Oh, that game's going to be over Winston-Salem. Wow, that would be a good game to go if you were. But in the Charlotte area, Olympic TC Rovers.
You know why the Charlotte Catholic game would be a good game to go to? Because there's no better environment in North Carolina to watch a football game than Charlotte Catholic.
Right.
The stands, Keri, the football stands are literally less than 10 yards from the sideline. About 10 yards from the sideline.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It is. They have no track there. It is. You've never seen. You just can't explain a Charlotte Catholic environment without actually being there. It's outrageously fun. It's so energizing. So exciting. All the youth that's there. Their student section is the best, bar none. They rock. I mean, it is. And it's funny because if you're on the Catholic side, and I'm a person who likes to always be in position to see the play, so I'll run from a 30-yard line to the other 30 to get down there before the snap. And as you're running, you got kids hanging down from the stands, holding their hands out, and just like high five them, and you'll see like 50 kids doing that all the time, and it's just.
Yeah, I go up and down the field too. Makes me miss wrestling season where I get to sit on the side of the corner.
Dale, I remember in 2016 we were watching Wake Forest, watching Weddington and Eastern Guilford play, and Dale can book it. I mean, Dale looked like O.J. Simpson back in 1979 doing those Hertz commercial, jumping over benches and stuff.
Don't believe all that.
He was booking it. I mean, just doing this number here, going. I mean, not just speed wise, but laterally. He's sticking this right here, and
I don't want.
And not only that, he's carrying some equipment on him too. It's like
that was back when I was shooting.
I get a ref going with the player, and I'm like, dang, that ref is got some wheels.
I can tell you one time I was standing there and I just said something to the wing official and a big play occurred, and I ran all the way down and I got down there, and then the wing official came up and he's like, "How'd you get down here so quickly?" Oh. Let me see here. We got a few comments here. Cardinal Gibbons' record is, but they do have a chance to make it back to the state. We already answered this question. They do. You get to go up to the mountains.
Freeze to death. I don't do well in the cold.
Maybe it won't be too cold. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, I'll have 48 layers on. I look like a Christmas story. I come prepared.
I think on Friday it's supposed to be. I think they said in Durham the kickoff it's supposed to be like 67 degrees or 63 degrees, and then when it's over with, it's supposed to be about 58 degrees. It's going to be fairly mild here.
It's
Oh,
gonna
good.
probably be -20 in Hendersonville.
Do what? -20.
Yes. I freeze to death.
Hendersonville.
I cannot handle it.
I don't like cold weather either. I'm a
Do you
southerner, so.
do you put on a base layer?
Oh, I have 6 layers on, and
No. So what I'm saying is, so a base layer, you can. It would be similar to Under Armour stuff as a base layer.
I have the Under Armour stuff.
Okay.
The cold gear.
So some kind of base layer thermal is really good to. What I do when it's cold, I wear a base layer, a thermal, and then usually I just wear pants, but then I have 2 more layers over my chest, so that I can take something off or put something on. If it's really if it's real cold, then I'll put thermals on over the base layer and then pants.
You know, if it's really cold, I stay inside. I don't mess with that cold stuff.
Some of that, though, I have multiple sclerosis, so some of
Right.
it is my MS, and I know
understand.
that. And I know because I'm not affected by the heat, I'm more affected by the cold, and I know some of that is my MS. But I do go out there looking like a crazy lady, and some of my coaches are still in shorts, and I look like I'm at the Christmas, the Christmas movie with I can't put my arms down. I'm out there in a ski jacket, like 4 layers of clothes underneath it. I'm freezing to death.
Just as long as you're comfortable, that's the point. You got to be comfortable. So whatever that takes.
The hot hands by the case for $14 at Sam's. By the way, I put them in my shoes and in my gloves and in my jacket and my big Under Armour coat.
Right. Do you what do you do for gloves?
I have I don't know what brand they are. I don't remember where I bought them, but I have a set of gloves and I put hot hands in them.
Because one of the problems with shooting is gloves.
Yeah, I have to have gloves, but it's got like the little things on them, like where you would use a cell phone, because my camera has touchscreen on the back.
Right. I went through a whole thing of trying to find the right kind of gloves, and the best gloves I could find, unfortunately, weren't the best, but golf gloves are great because what I needed more was grip. I wanted more grip and not so much. I tweet a lot during a game, so yeah, it's important maybe to be able to work a mobile device or something. But more than anything, I wanted to be able to grip. And of course, a camera body, the camera lens.
Well, I'm on a monopod.
Right.
So I'm not having to hold the camera per se, just holding it over my shoulder.
Still end up putting your hands up on it though.
Yeah,
it gets
I do.
Cold. Yeah.
And nothing is cold.
Dale, I got a good story about this is back in Dudley playing Catholic. It was over at Tarpley Stadium in Greensboro, and it was I think it was in the state 4A championship. This is back when both Catholic and Dudley were 4A, and Harry Nostrand was on the sidelines. It was about 35 degrees. and he's wearing exactly one glove, and he's wearing a net glove, and he had only one glove, and he was taking. He lost his other glove. And he was taking turns putting the one glove on the other. And I went to Harry. I says, "You know what you and Michael Jackson have in common?" And he's like, "No, what?" And I said, "Both of you are exact one glove for no apparent reason." It was the funniest thing I ever seen.
Oh goodness!
Used to be what does Bill Butner and Michael Jackson have in common after the '86 World Series when he let the ball go through his legs? Both of them wear one glove for no apparent reason. But anyway.
I
Well,
keep
guys, I
saying
am losing my
a lot of
voice
times
here.
we're out in the country and surely be okay to have a burn barrel on the side. I was like, because I'm dying.
What you need to do is tell them to start cooking some fried fish on the sidelines. They do that over at Dudley, or they're off this kind of, I wouldn't say right on the sidelines, but on the uh, near the entrance where you can go to the restrooms. They're cooking there, and you can see the field really well. I'll tell you what, I watched some minutes that game over near the fried food. Kept you nice and warm.
We had heaters when we went to Ashe County like 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Because we were hanging on the side of a mountain in Ashe County. And I think we had more fans than the home team did.
Oh,
I thought it was
really?
dying.
Wow.
I was glued to that heater.
That's
Like
West
y'all only get
Jefferson's great
pictures
places.
from the heater.
Usually the mountain, and these, well, I say usually, maybe it's just
No,
because of the
those
places I've
people were
gone.
like, it's too freaking cold to come out here to a football game.
So most of my experiences up in the mountains or has been that fans turn out really well.
West
Uh,
Lincoln travels extremely well in every sport. Extremely well.
we had some bad experiences up at Macy's Reynolds. We had to go up there 2 years in a row and get our heinies kicked.
Have you ever been to Robbinsville before?
I have.
Where you have these guys that have no t-shirt on, they're wearing their bib overalls, and they just kind of like looking at you like this right here, like, who are you? You're like, okay, I just don't know where I am. I'm just gonna go walk away.
We played Cherokee one year. I don't remember, obviously non-conference. That is the nicest flipping place ever.
Well, that's government money right there.
Wow, that was nice.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. I was like, it's even nice in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's
I was
there's some
like,
colleges not as nice as Cherokee.
that was
There,
like a whole ski resort.
there's slight compensations for us
I was like,
taking everything away from them.
Exactly.
I was
I
like,
shouldn't laugh
you've got
about
to be.
that.
I was like, this is 1A. This is not a junior college. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cherokee State. The stadium there is probably better than Keenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. Oh, I didn't say that out loud.
It was amazing.
Yeah, if you ever gone into the press boxes over at Keenan Stadium, that place is a dump. I
I've
mean,
been in them.
I know you've been in there. Wake Forest has got the best, followed by probably NC State. Duke is finally better than Carolina with that press box. Carolina's press box is horrible. I think if we had all the games at Wake Forest, I'd be happy with that. It's the best stadium there is.
I think it's the best stadium because of size and
Size and location too. It's a little
venue,
bit closer.
location, and with 4 classifications, we could.
Yeah, I agree.
We could have a Friday night game and 3 Saturday games.
Guys, I better head off. My voice is getting a little bit raspy, and I need to call it a night. But Dale, Keri, thank you so much. I'll catch up with y'all later. Y'all keep on talking. I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure Keri's family wants her back.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us again, Keri.
Sure, no problem.
you're welcome to come on next week too.
Yeah, please
You
do.
guys,
Please
because you
do.
guys are going to be in the second round.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Tell Mason to have a great game.
I will.
All right, everybody, take
All right,
care.
guys. Take care now. See ya.
Bye.